Sex. A short word, but carrying so many layers of meaning, emotion, and even centuries of misunderstanding. In the modern world, sex is often separated from spiritual depth. It becomes something to consume, control, or avoid. But what if you realized that sexual energy is the key to your deepest awakening? This is not a video about technique or desire. This is an invitation to return to a hidden truth. Sexual energy is life energy, primal, creative, and sacred. And no one explains this more clearly than Osho. Osho, the Indian mystic master, shook the Western world by bringing light into suppressed dark areas, particularly sexuality. But for him, sex wasn't the goal. It's just a door to the dissolution of the ego, where you are no longer the controller, but pure presence. In this video, we will explore the core of Tantra, not as a form of sacred sexuality, but as a path to transform sexual energy into higher consciousness. A journey from body to spirit, from sensuality to absolute freedom. Osho, born in India in 1931, was not only a philosopher, but also a revolutionary in the field of spirituality. He did not build a new religion, nor did he encourage you to believe in any system. On the contrary, Osho constantly invited people to break free from all old beliefs and rediscover themselves through direct experience. For many Westerners, he is famous, even controversial, for frequently mentioning sex and meditation in the same sentence. But if you stop at that image, you'll miss the entire depth that Osho brings. For him, sex is just the starting point. It is one of the most powerful manifestations of life energy. But only when you go deep, without denial or judgment, can that energy be transformed into awareness. Osho did not see sex as a sin, but rather that the suppression of sex was what was harmful. Because everything that is repressed will return in a distorted or unconscious form. He once said, "You can meditate, you can fast, you can chant all day, but if you haven't understood the root of sexual energy, you're still just running away from yourself." But that doesn't mean he encouraged indulging in pleasure. On the contrary, he taught how to observe sexual energy, not to act hastily, not to suppress it, but simply to acknowledge it with presence. Because it is precisely in that state of observation that energy begins to transform. Everything Osho teaches boils down to inner freedom. He didn't tell you to give up desire, but invited you to observe it, to go through it, to see that behind desire is a pure creative energy, seeking expression. When you are no longer pulled by instinct, nor trying to control it, you begin to live from a higher state, where you are free from all impulses, neither swept away nor imprisoned. Osho combined knowledge from Japanese Zen Buddhism, Taoism, and especially Tantra, an ancient Indian mystical branch, to build a philosophy of life he called the Zorba Buddha. A person who enjoys earthly life like Zorba the Greek, but also awakens within like a Buddha, the fusion of matter and spirit, of body and soul. For Osho, truth cannot be taught, it can only be lived. And all energy, including sexual energy, can become a gateway to that state if you are present enough not to get swept away by it, nor push it away. For Osho, sexual energy is not something to be eliminated, but rather the most fundamental form of life energy, expressed in its most primal form. When you are born, the first energy flow that rises within your body is sexual energy. It's the pull between the positive and negative poles in every human being, not just for reproduction, but for harmony, for evolution, for dissolving the boundaries between me and others. But society has long made people feel ashamed of that energy. Sex is considered taboo, inferior, and an instinct that humans must overcome. Osho disagreed with that. He said, "You can't overcome what you don't understand yet. You cannot transform if you haven't consciously entered into it." For him, sex is the seed of meditation, if observed without hypocrisy or blind desire. Sexual energy is creative energy. From this energy, all forms of art, music, spirituality, etc. can be born. It's not limited to physical behavior, but rather the potential to reach bliss, a form of experience that transcends the body. Osho sees sexual energy as a cascading waterfall. If you try to break through it, you'll explode inside. If you go down with it, you'll be swept away. But if you know how to stand still and observe, neither resisting nor getting carried away, you will see that the waterfall not only pulls you down, it can also lift you up. That's when raw energy transforms into light, into intuition, into compassion. Many people ask, how do you transform? Osho answered very clearly, presence is the only key. It's not about strict discipline, not about repression, not about avoidance, but about mindfulness in every moment when sexual energy arises. You don't react, you just observe. You don't try to do something with the energy. You let it be present in silence. Initially, this can be very difficult, because sexual drive is often accompanied by intense impulses, urging action. But Osho encourages you to sit with it like a burning flame. Just sit there. Don't jump in, don't run away. And then you will realize behind the flames is space. A deeper stillness is opening up. When you are present enough with that energy without being led by it, you will feel a subtle shift. Instead of being driven to seek external pleasure, you begin to turn inward. Instead of feeling lacking, you begin to feel full. You don't fall in love to be loved back, but because the energy within you is so overflowing that you want to share it. And that's when sexual energy becomes pure love, unconditional, without possession. Osho also pointed out that most suffering in relationships comes from a misunderstanding of sexual energy. Humans don't understand themselves, so they seek others to fill the void. But that's never enough. Only when you connect with your own life force does sex cease to be a physical exchange. It becomes a union of two souls, no longer a desire to consume, but a resonance. One of Osho's most powerful statements is, "Sex is the gateway. If you go through it unconsciously, you're just repeating instinct. But if you go through it in the light of awareness, you will no longer be the same person. You will begin your journey upward, from desire to love, from love to meditation, and from meditation to enlightenment." In that context, you begin to understand why Osho talks so much about sex. It wasn't because he encouraged pleasure, but because he wanted to release trapped energy so it could soar. Osho clearly saw, if you don't understand sexual energy, you will live in conflict. But if you learn to be present with it, you can live in deep freedom and peace. And he emphasized that this is not theory. You have to experience it. You must observe yourself, feel for yourself, and go through your own darkness and light. No teacher can do it for you. No book is enough. Only you, in silence, can see the secret this energy brings. When people hear the word Tantra, most immediately think of mystical sexual rituals or couple meditation poses. But that's just the surface. According to Osho, Tantra is not about teaching you how to make love better, but rather a path to transform all life energy, including sexuality, into pure consciousness. Osho clearly stated, Tantra denies nothing, not even sex. But Tantra isn't stuck on sex either. In other words, Tantra starts where humans are right now, in desire, instinct, and the pursuit of pleasure. But doesn't stop there. Instead of suppressing or denying sexuality, Tantra observes it, breathes with it, and moves through it to reach the other side, the state of egolessness. In Tantra, there is no sin, no shame when it comes to sex. It's not something that needs to be avoided or controlled by willpower. But it's not something to pursue forever either. Tantra teaches that when you bring awareness, complete presence, into sexual activity, that moment is no longer instinctual, but becomes a door opening to dissolution. Osho further explains, sex in Tantra is just the first step. It's like when you step onto a bridge. You don't stop in the middle of the bridge. You walk across it to reach the other side. And the other side, that's the state of meditation, of the union between you and the universe. Many people mistakenly believe that Tantra encourages unlimited desire. But the truth is the opposite. Tantra doesn't promote pleasure. It promotes awakening in every moment of body and mind. When you love consciously, without control, without calculation, without guilt, sex itself will dissolve, leaving behind a deep stillness, a space where you are no longer the doer, but become pure presence. Tantra is therefore not for those who want to satisfy their ego through sacred sexuality. It's for those who are brave enough to look inward, overcome prejudice, and embark on the journey of ego dissolution. Osho once said, Tantra is the most dangerous path because it hides nothing. It forces you to confront yourself, not through theory, but through real-life experiences. And that's why Tantra is misunderstood, but at the same time, it's the most powerful path for complete transformation. You don't need to retreat to the Himalayas or live in closed communities to understand and practice Tantra. On the contrary, Osho emphasizes that it is precisely those living amidst the noisy city, facing daily pressures, desires, and conflicts who need Tantra more than ever. Why? Because Tantra doesn't separate you from life. It brings you back to life itself, but with a completely different state of presence. In the modern context, sexual energy is often suppressed or unconsciously dissipated. People are caught between two extremes, either trying to control desire through strict discipline or indulging in aimless satisfaction. Both paths lead to stress, guilt, emptiness, and sometimes addiction. But Tantra, according to Osho, offers a third path. No denial, not spoiled, but it's an awakening. For example, instead of suppressing desire, Tantra invites you to observe that desire with silence and without judgment. When you feel attracted to someone, you don't need to act immediately, nor do you need to turn away. You just need to be fully aware of that energy rising within you. Feel it move, breathe with it, and something strange will happen. In deep presence, that energy will no longer need to externalize, but will begin to transform. Osho calls this alchemy, inner alchemy. The roughness of desire gradually becomes the essence of creativity, compassion, and meditation. So, how can a modern person who is working, has a family, or lives alone practice this? Osho suggests very specific steps. First, meditate on the body every day. You don't need to sit still for hours. You can practice the dynamic Tantra that Osho teaches, where you shake your whole body, breathe deeply, dance, and allow all the energy within you to express itself naturally. Don't try to control your sexual energy. Let it flow as it naturally does, but be fully present with it. Second is loving with presence. If you have an intimate relationship, make sex a meditative ritual. No rush, no peak goals, no technique used. Just touch each other with tenderness and breathe together. Osho said, when two people are in love and both are present like Zen masters, sex becomes a bridge to the divine. Third is creation instead of dissemination. Osho believed that sexual energy, when not dissipated through unconscious pleasure, will naturally rise and become creative. You can write, draw, dance, design, garden, anything that makes you flow with the vibrant current of life. Sex is no longer something you hold back, but something you transform into light. And finally, live without sin, without fear. Society often mixes sexuality with shame and control. Osho completely broke down that mask. He said, you don't have to be a saint. You just need to be real and present with whatever is alive within you. If desire arises, observe it without judgment. If you love someone, love with all your heart, but don't possess them. When you are honest with yourself, healing begins to happen. Osho doesn't offer a rigid method. He extended an invitation to live authentically, fully and consciously, a place where even desire becomes a means of bringing you back to your pure origin. In today's chaotic world, this message resonates like a breath of fresh air, neither running away from the body nor being trapped within it, but rather to live in the body, but as a conscious guest. Osho's Tantra, therefore, is not a theory, but a vivid, living experience that can happen right in the midst of everyday life, right as you breathe, love, or silently watch the sunlight streaming through the window. If you find yourself ready to go beyond the ordinary path, the final section will bring you to a subtle conclusion, helping you understand why sexual energy is the first key and also the final door on the path to awakening. For Osho, sex doesn't need to be controlled or denied. It simply needs to be seen for what it truly is. A primal flow of energy that, if understood and observed with full presence, will become a gateway to awakening. What he pointed out was not abandonment, but transformation. When you are no longer running from sexual energy, nor controlled by it, you begin to touch a deep inner stillness where there is no longer a separation between soul and body. That's when the sacred blossoms right in the midst of earthly life. And you don't need to become anyone else. You just need to see yourself clearly. If this resonates with you, please share it with anyone else who is also seeking the truth. And if you feel connected, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so we can continue this journey of discovery together.